My name is Clara Thompson, and I am 31 years old. I live in the quiet, picturesque town of Elysium Heights, where the streets are lined with flower-filled gardens and the neighbors wave hello as they pass by. For the most part, my life has been a peaceful one. I have a loving partner and two energetic children who keep me on my toes. Yet, despite this idyllic existence, I have been grappling with a situation that has shaken my world and challenged my sense of safety and belonging. It all began when I joined an online due date group filled with other mothers expecting in August 2023. At first, it was a warm, supportive community where we shared tips about pregnancy, our struggles, and the joys of impending motherhood. However, what started as a safe haven quickly devolved into something dark and menacing. Trolls infiltrated our group, and rather than seeking support, these individuals sought drama and chaos. They turned what was meant to be a gentle sharing space into a breeding ground for bullying and harassment, targeting vulnerable members and exploiting their personal struggles. These online bullies established a drama group, where they initially joked about each other, but soon crossed the line into cruel mocking and shaming. It was in that space where the worst began to surface. They began to shamelessly ridicule victims of domestic violence, people with disabilities, and even those who simply expressed differing opinions. The poison spread like wildfire, resulting in countless women feeling threatened and exposed. Some members even shared sensitive information, allowing bullies to contact abusive partners of their victims, putting lives at risk. I had managed to stay out of their line of fire, but it was becoming harder to watch the devastation unfold without doing anything. Every day, I scrolled through their Discord server and saw screenshots of the disgusting things they said, how they reveled in humiliating others, and how they seemed to delight in pushing their peers to the edge. At one point, someone even reported a single mother simply trying to share her experience to Child Protective Services without cause. All of this was driving me to the brink. I felt a growing sense of responsibility to do something, yet part of me wondered if I was just being naive. Could I really take on such a malicious entity? Was it worth the risk? As my despair deepened, I hatched a plan to expose these bullies for who they truly were. My first step was to gather evidence. I started collecting screenshots from their Discord chats and documents illustrating the harm they caused. I spent many sleepless nights documenting their horrific behavior, not just so I could confront them, but also in the hope that others would rally to support the women they had harmed. However, when I finally shared this evidence in our original due date group to seek support, I was met with silence and even hostility from some members who were too frightened to stand up against the bullies. It seemed the power these bullies had wielded created a chilling effect among many of the women. Instead of feeling empowered, I felt lower than ever, as if my heart was sinking. I decided that I would confront them head-on. With my evidence in hand, I entered their Discord group, my fingers shaking as I typed out a message. I called them out, revealing the evidence and detailing the pain they had caused. Instead of remorse, I was met with a flood of abuse. They attacked my character, belittled my efforts, and even threatened me. I realized that I had severely underestimated their vile nature. My heart sank as I saw that, in their eyes, I had only handed them more ammunition to mock and humiliate. That night, I cried for hours. It felt like everything was lost. I was torn between the need to fight back and the fear of what these bullies might do next. But then it hit me. Their greatest weapon was their anonymity, their ability to hide behind screens and torment others without facing consequences. Perhaps I could turn the tables on them. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that the injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This idea began to resonate within me. I meticulously crafted a plan to expose their actions to a broader audience. I would compile everything I had gathered, including their remarks, threats, and examples of their harassment. After that, I would contact various online platforms, mental health organizations, and even the local authorities in Elysium Heights. I knew that if they could see these bullies for what they were, they might take action too. I spent days contacting news outlets and forums, laying bare the horrific truths about the group and the dangers they posed. I could feel the adrenaline pumping as I hit send, hoping this time it would lead to real consequences. In the wake of my actions, I saw a surprising shift. A few fellow mothers who had, until that moment, hesitated to speak up began to share their own stories of the abuse they faced from this group, and soon, the response from the community gained momentum. Yet just as I felt the tide turning, the bullies unleashed their wrath. I received countless hateful messages, and they even tried to drag my partner into their web of insults. I was terrified but reminded myself why I was doing this. I had to dig deep and summon every ounce of strength I had left. I lit up social media with my fight and rallied for others to do the same. Our voices began to echo. Too many women were tired of being bullied. In a stunning twist, some members of my own due date group finally took courage. They began speaking out against the bullies themselves, expressing their pain and refusing to let fear control them any longer. With this newfound solidarity, our communication formed a protective barrier around those vulnerable women who had felt subdued for too long. Finally, as the community began to band together, I received an unexpected message from the moderators of the platform where the bullying had occurred. They informed me that they were looking into my claims about the group and their threatening behavior. This was my moment. Evidence I had gathered was gaining traction, and I felt the weight of the world lift from my shoulders. The bullies were forced to confront the truth they had created, and I watched as their once vibrant community began to crumble under the glare of scrutiny. They became panicked, throwing insults and attempting to regain control over a narrative that was slipping through their fingers. As a resolution settled over Elysium Heights, I found my new normal. I continued to speak out against online bullying, using my experience to educate others about the impacts of cyber harassment. The mothers who had once been scared to share their woes now stood in solidarity. We created a new space online, one that prioritized kindness, support, and fierce protection against bullies. In the end, I learned that revenge does not always need to be an eye for an eye. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in unifying voices behind a truth that demands to be heard. The bullies had wronged many, but we turned our collective pain into a force for empowerment. As I reflect on this journey, I realize that I am forever changed. What began as a fight for justice turned into a movement of resilience, reminding me that even in the darkest corners of the internet, light can shine through. The final twist. While I never expected it, I turned out to be a beacon for all those still suffering in silence, and that, in itself, was my ultimate revenge.